So, I told you guys I'd do a pad tier list, and well, here I am. I have no particular order for any of these, and I just pulled up a list, pulled up all the images, slapped them in here, and now I'm just kind of going to go through these blindly. I have no pre-existing script or anything for how I feel about these pads, so you're going to hear my initial thoughts to everything. Okay, so the first pad we've got here, it's the Innovative Percussion CP1R. It's like a black marching pad. It feels okay. It's sort of plasticky. It's almost like a really hard version of the Invader V3 surface. So, I mean, it's a decent pad. I wouldn't not recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it. We'll give it a B. Up next, we have the new Slim Pad. Now, I love the Slim Pad. However, I like the old Slim Pad more. But I still got to give it some credit here. It's a pretty great pad. It's probably one of my favorites, so we'll give it a solid A. Okay, next up is the Vic Firth double-sided pad. I hate this pad. It doesn't feel good on either side of it. The rubber is okay, the gray side, it's super bouncy, and the black side just feels like you're playing on a table and is not fun to play on at all. So we're gonna give it a D. Alright, up next is the Innovative Percussion RP1R, which is like the red version of the black pad. It's a little softer and quieter. It's like a rubberier feel. I don't know if that's a word, but we're going to go with it. I think it's okay. It feels decent. It's not great. It's not bad. I'd say it's probably worse than the black pad in terms of rebound, but we'll give it a C just because it's still a decent pad. Alright, the new Real Feel. I have mixed feelings about the new Real Feel. If you're using it as a primary pad, it's kind of garbage. It doesn't feel the greatest to play on, and it'll definitely give you pad hands, but if it's like your secondary pad, it's super quiet and it's pretty light, so it's easy to travel with. I use it mainly just when I'm trying to be quiet when I'm playing. So we'll give it a B tier just because it's iconic. Alright, next up is the Invader V3. Now, I freaking love that pad. It was my primary pad for forever. I think it was my junior year of high school that I got the Invader V3 with this laminate. I think it was this exact model for Christmas from my brother. Thank you, Nick, and thank you for letting me use your PC and your microphone. Don't tell him I'm doing this. But I got this Invader V3 for Christmas, and I freaking loved that pad. I freaking love the laminated Invader V3, so we're going to give that an S tier. Alright, next up, the Ahead, I'm just going to call it the Ahead Snare Pad. They're kind of garbage. They're super cheap feeling, and the top surface is like this awful plastic feeling to it. And it's got that little circle to help you play in the center, but it does not feel good to play on at all. And it actually, I think they were manufactured by Xymox. I know they have the Xymox patent on them, but I am not a fan of the Ahead pads at all. Plus, they come with that awful snare sound. It's like a super huge gimmick that a lot of like younger people really like, but once you get further into things, you realize it just kind of hinders your ability to hear what you're playing. So we're going to give it a D tier. Okay, next up is the Offworld Outlander. It's actually a pretty good pad. I don't think I would consider it better than the Invader V3, but it's just like its little mini cousin. It's a little bit of a harder surface just because it's thinner on the top, I believe. And I think they actually market for like pipe band drummers, but I think it feels pretty good for just like snare drumming in general. Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty freaking good pad. It's pretty portable as well just because it's so small. So yeah, we'll give it an A tier. Okay. Now, Xymox. I don't think I have to say anything about Xymox for you guys to know where this is going to go on the tier list. In fact, I should have given it its own little category. In fact, you know what? We're going to do that right now. Alright, so we're back. I put the little scam category in here because Xymox is a scam. Don't ever, ever, ever give your money to Xymox. I have plenty of problems with that company. If you're curious, in fact, I'll tell my little story with them. So, and I could probably pull up all the freaking emails I have back and forth with their customer service. But, so, when I was a freshman in high school, there was a kid that I knew who, he was a senior, and he had a Xymox pad, and I liked it, so I went and ordered one, having no clue about, like, their absolute horrendous customer service or shipping times or anything. I went out and bought a Xymox pad. Or I guess my mom did. I was a freshman in high school. I didn't have any freaking money. But I went out and bought one, and it took, I think it was like 6 months to arrive. I could honestly probably check, but Took about 6 months to arrive. I went back and forth with their customer service for a bit. It wasn't the worst experience ever. It was a little annoying, but me being a freshman in high school, I didn't really care. Obviously, as things sort of went along over the years, a lot more things started coming out about Xymox being absolute garbage. And me still in high school, thinking around the time that Xymox was getting better, I then spent, I think it was like $200 on one of their cool looking hybrid snares that I thought was going to be awesome. Yeah, no, it wasn't. In fact, I never got it. I ordered that in May of 2019, I believe, and it is now February 2022. So it's been almost 3 years of never hearing anything about it. In fact, I think at one point it was changed to in production, but you know, obviously I'm never going to see it. I think like 4 total hybrid snares have shipped entirely. Basically, if you don't know what Xymox does, they will take your money and pretend like they're going to ship your pad and never do, and they will occasionally ship pads out to people so that people see it and think, oh, they're shipping pads, so that means I should be able to buy one and get my pad, when in reality, they're only doing it to a very small amount of people so they can keep a ton of money but only spend a very little amount. Not to mention their customer service either just straight up doesn't respond or lies to you outright. They'll tell you it's going to ship the next week and never does, etc., etc. At one point, they try to use COVID as an excuse to pretend like, oh, well, all these orders that happened 2 years before COVID or a year before COVID were suddenly affected by COVID, which is a bunch of BS. If you pull up the Better Business Bureau website, in fact, let me actually do that. If you pull up their Better Business Bureau site of Xymox Percussion, you'll see it's got a 1.08 out of 5 of customer reviews. The BBB gives them a rating of F. They're not accredited. And there's actually a pattern of complaint, like an alert for Xymox, that basically says this. Customers, a lot of customers, have complained about not receiving their products and having false claims from the customer service, and that the BBB actually tried to reach out to Xymox Percussion and got an automated email and have not heard anything from them. So don't order from them. That is my rant about Xymox Percussion. If you're curious, ask me in the comments anything about Xymox, and I will freaking answer it because I hate it. So anyways, yeah, Xymox is going into the scam category. All right, next up, we've got the Prologix VST Extreme pad. It's this black surfaced pad that it's super soft feeling. It is ridiculously quiet, but it doesn't feel that great. But I mean, if you want a quiet pad, that's like the quietest I've ever heard. Yeah, so we'll go ahead. I'm going to give it a C tier here. So next is Drumslinger pads. We've got actually 2 of them in a row. That wasn't planned, but that's kind of perfect because they're both going into the scam category. Now, don't get me wrong, the pads feel great. Like, they're cool pads to play on, but God, you'll never see it. In fact, I think almost in a sense Drumslinger is worse than Xymox in the fact that they just straight up haven't shipped anything since I think it was like 2018. They haven't sent out a single order. I used to have one of their 14-inch, I think it's the core pad is the bigger one. I used to have one of those, and it took about 10 months to arrive. They would constantly tell me it's going to ship next week, and it never did. They did this probably every month or so. They would say it's going to ship, and then it never did. It finally did ship out to me, and I got it. It felt pretty good. You know, it's a pad with a real head, so it felt pretty decent. But I mean, for the wait time, good God, I would never pay for that again. Not to mention it was pretty expensive. But since about 2018, I don't think they've ever shipped a single pad to anybody, and I would don't spend your money there because you're never going to see any product from them. So yeah, don't buy from Drumslinger, they suck. All right, so next up, we've got the Greenlogix pad. So this is another Prologix pad. In fact, I got a cool story about the Prologix pads and why I've played on the Greenlogix pad as well as the Vortex pad. So the high school that I went to is actually based in the same hometown as the HQ for Prologix. And so the Prologix guys, they gave us a clinic for free, which was freaking awesome. We got to meet like the Prologix guys. And on top of that, they brought every single one of us a small, like free, it was like a mini version of the Vortex pad that was awesome. As well as they brought the high school just a bunch of pads that we could use so students could like borrow them and etc. There was like a tenor pad, this 3 padded thing. It was a bunch of cool pads. And so there was a point where I had played on both a Vortex pad, I was borrowing one of those, and then I'd also borrowed one of the green ones from the high school. So that's the reason I played on them, is because Prologix gave pads to my high school and gave us free pads and everything. But anyway, on to the green pad. It feels pretty good. It's pretty quiet as well. I'd say it feels about the same as that red Innovative Percussion Pad. It's not the best. It's not the worst. I think it's pretty cheap, but yeah, it's okay. The rim did start to fall off a little bit just out of usage, but overall, I think it's a pretty good pad. So we're going to put it in the C tier. Ah, yes, the hybrid snare. I already gave you my rant on this, so this is going just straight into the scam section.
Here's all the stuff, the trash can.
In fact, if you want a video on an actual review of one of these pads, I'll link it down below to Snare Man's channel, who actually got one, presumably because they noticed that he has a YouTube channel that he reviews pads on. But they sent him one out. I think he had like 2 pads break or something. His latest video, he just throws it away because it's garbage. But yeah, they just kept breaking. The rims aren't strong enough. But yeah, garbage, scam, don't buy it. Okay, next up is the gray Real Feel. I mean, it's pretty similar to the current Real Feel. I think it's a little more rubbery, but overall it's about the same. I think it's a little louder as well. I don't think I'd put it on the same tier as the new Real Feel. We'll just give it a C tier. Yes, the golden egg of drum pads, the grandfather of them all, one of the hardest pads to find, the tan Real Feel. Oh baby. So these things feel freaking amazing. They're also like sturdy as hell, but they're just freaking fantastic. S tier. Super hard to find, but my god, if you find one, whew. Alright, next up's the Ram Pad. The Ram Pad's pretty cool. It's similar to like the Drumslinger Pad. In fact, I was told from a source that Drumslinger stole their design from Ram Pads, but Ram Pads are cool. They feel pretty good. They're not the best. I think the whole curving of the head's a little annoying, but overall it's a pretty decent pad. We'll give it a B tier. Okay, next up is the RCP pad. I have never personally played on one of these. I heard they feel kind of awful. They're not super reboundy, and I could be completely wrong about this, but I believe they're just actually rebranding. I think they're like manufactured in China, these Chinese drum pads. So they're just rebranding them and reselling them for more, from what I've been told. I don't know if they do anything else with it, but that's what I've heard. So we're not going to put it in the scam category because it's still like a playable pad that you'll get. We're going to put it in the D tier. Okay, what is next? The old Slim Pad. I freaking love the Slim Pad just in general, but the old Slim Pad, impossible to find, first off. But also, they do feel slightly different, so I've been told. They claim it's the same sort of rubber and the same design, just without the cutout, but I don't know, I've been told it feels different. But I mean, I've never played on it personally, but these things are a gem to find. If you do find one in good condition, sell that thing for a lot of money. But yeah, we're gonna give it an S tier. Next up, the new stock pad. I don't like the stock pad. Hot take here. I like the Slim Pad a lot more. The stock pad is kind of rubbery feeling, and it's a lot quieter than the Slim Pad. The Slim Pad is super loud, but I don't know. I don't think I'd give it that great. I think it's an okay pad if you're looking for a pad, but why buy the stock pad when you can just buy the Slim Pad instead? So we're gonna go C tier. Okay, next up is the old stock pad. I actually had one of these. It's I mean, it feels better than the new stock pad, but it's not great. The design, I like the design without the cutout better, but we're gonna go B tier. Okay, next up is the Vater double-sided pad. I think they used to have this one in yellow too. It's a decent pad. It's pretty quiet if you play on it. Like, it's super quiet, but it feels pretty rubbery. In fact, I'd say it feels almost exactly the same as the red Innovative Percussion Pad. Although I do like the double sides to it. It gives you 2 options. And you know what, just for that, we're going to put it right above the red Innovative Percussion Pad in the B tier. All right, and finally, we have the Prologix Vortex Pad. It's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. It's pretty cheap in terms of marching pads. It uses recycled rubber, which is always a plus. It's not the sturdiest. The rim can fall off pretty easily because it's just like a glued rim on top. And it feels kind of hard versus some other like rubbery pads or like the dark matter. But I don't think it feels bad. It's just not quite bouncy enough, and it sort of loses rebound and absorbs the sticks. And in that case, we're going to give it a B tier. All right, and that wraps it up. Just some final notes. Don't ever buy anything from Xymox. Don't ever buy anything from Drumslinger. Buy an Invader. It's my favorite pad. Freaking love the thing. It's a tank. If you're looking for a pad, buy an Invader. If you need something cheaper, a Slim Pad is also great. The Outlander is also awesome too. But yeah, link down below to Snareman's channel if you're curious about how terrible the hybrid snare is from Xymox. But yeah, that's about the end of it. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.